So, in the past couple of months, I've been trying to teach myself about NFTs and what it really means in the world of art and creating digital assets. And I simply just figured it out. It's way too complicated for me to understand, but the way I can actually wrap my head around it is to try and create work for it. Welcome to the first ever NFT that I've created, which is not yet on the market yet. And that's also a process that I'm going through, trying to figure out everything. And I'm just going to learn by doing. So I've learned a couple of things that you have to at least create the work and then sign up for a few things, buy currency and list your NFT. And then you can sell it. So I'm still learning, but for today, we're going to talk about this piece that I'm creating here. As you can see, I laid down a foundation in a sketch, and then slowly at this part right here, I try to tie down my sketch, while I also include where the lighting and the shades are going to be in the drawing. Slowly, I try to build up the work. I'm drawing this in Procreate, and I'm just using the regular pencils that come with Procreate. But you can see now, I make the layer a little bit, I've turned down the opacity a little bit because now I'm going to the fun part, which is inking. I'm still using no custom brushes, and I did not buy any brushes. These are all the brushes that come in Procreate. But my drawing process is after I tie down a sketch and I show where the shadows and the lights are supposed to be, then I bring out an inker and I start putting on a little bit of ink. For this particular piece, I actually did 2 inking layers because I didn't like the first one. It was a lot of doodly one, this one that I'm doing right now. And then I went back ahead and grabbed another inking brush and put another ink layer on top of this. So the other thing is, when I was actually looking up how to create NFTs, is you want to create as many layers as you can, so that way you can easily get variations of your work. And so you can sell a 1 of 10 depending on how you arrange the layers and how you color it in. For this particular one, you can see I'm adding another ink layer now, which is a lot more precise, which is more of a traditional way I actually draw. I use a lot of smoothing when I'm using Procreate. I also use a lot of smoothing when I'm using Sketchbook Pro. But for this one, I'm using Procreate. And you can see now I put on another inking layer. And now to define my style, I go ahead and start putting a framework on top of my pieces. You can see here, I'm still using the inking brush and I'm going and wrapping around lines around my form to define the pieces even more. And I'm trying to create it a little bit unique, a little bit more into product illustration, but also to make it a little bit more unique. And at this point, I did not know if I was going to put color to it or not, but I was simply just creating ink work and just making it black and white at this point. But later on, as you will see, I actually decided to add a little bit more and put a little bit of color in there. Not too much, but just a little bit of color. And I wanted it to have this kind of vintage look to it. That's why I was, creating it with high contrasts. You could see where the light is hitting and where the shadows are going to be. And even when I put the color in, I still was hinting at and including that, as you will see later on in the video. So now the process we're going through is I will do the simple part first, because to me, the simple part is creating the work. But according to my research, the hard part is going to be wrapping my head around how to buy. I decided I'm going to use Ethereum, and how to register or how to list my NFTs on the blockchain. So now what we do here, you can see I put the inking layer on top, and I'm going in with this kind of color, brushing on it a little bit more and more. And you can see now that I have the color in. The way I usually do it is after I put the color, then I can go in and add a little bit of highlights and also add a little bit more shadows. And then every once in a while, depending on how strong I want the piece to be, especially when it comes to contrast, both shadows and lights, I usually go back in and add another layer on top of it, which usually includes the shadow area. And for that one, I usually use only black. But the trick is I usually put down the opacity on that layer a little bit more. In this one now, you can see I'm adding a little bit of highlights in the color. I made it a little bit gold, and I added a little bit of highlights to it to make it kind of shiny, like bronzish kind of look, but it also still has the wire framework around it, which I love. And this one, I'm just going to make it white for the pawn. I'm just going to make it white with a little bit of shadows and highlights. And now I can start to work on the bottom here. I can start to put down the board. And the board is pretty simple. I just put a little bit of dark color in the black areas where the patches are supposed to be, and then I went underneath that layer and put a little bit of white, and now I can put a few shadows in there to pretty much complete my drawing. And as I mentioned, you can offer NFTs in different kind of formats. For this one, I cropped it. Now I have a couple of variations to it. I have the original and then RGB. I have the red, I have the blue, and have the green. And so I'm going to list it as 4 NFTs in total. And watch out, when I list it, I'll give you guys an update of it being live. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And that's my first episode where I create an NFT. Bye bye for now.